Hello and welcome to Setup Phase. Today we will be continuing our journey to the realm of Ulos in adventure number 3, Outbreak in Undercity. I've already set up everything. We have 1 gold remaining from the last adventure. We have 1 XP at each location. The 4 random adventures have been shuffled and placed on their corresponding locations. And we also have 1 of the backstories at location C. All that's left to do is to begin the adventure. While the rest of the regiment headed north to battle, you were sent to fetch the head of a giant troll for King Taron. After you returned to the capital city of Sobek, Commander Zalik ordered you into Undercity to deal with an outbreak of vampirism. Undercity, a maze of catacombs and old sewer tunnels under the capital, is populated with criminal outcasts, rebels, and destitute. The locals have a rather low opinion of the King's Guard, and you suspect that they won't hesitate to infect you if given the chance. You follow Zalik through a graveyard to the royal mausoleum. He unlocks the gate and you enter. Down 3 flights of stairs, Zalik unlocks another gate and stands aside. Beyond lies a dark tunnel, one of many entrances to this maze of underground passages. The tunnels are cold and damp, smelling of rot and fire smoke. I also forgot to place 1 bonus play token, and it says that we need to place the party marker on location A and read entry A. If there is no XP at this location, there is. Otherwise, collect XP from this location and continue reading. Your mission is simple, but not pleasant, says Zalik. Vampires are powerful Dragul warriors. There is no cure for a vampire's bite. Kill the vampire and all of the infected that you meet. Bring me proof that the creature is dead. You will know the infected by their cold grey eyes, long fangs, and bite marks on their necks. Zalik motions for you to pass him, so you pass through the gate. The tunnel branches after Azima's bones. 1 branch will take you to the Thieves' Guild, another will take you through to the ossuary of the Old Order. The 3rd leads you to the cremation pit. Stay alert, the vampire could be hiding anywhere. Zalik hands you a lantern, instructing you to use it to search carefully everywhere you go. Return here when your mission is complete, says Zalik. Then he locks the iron gate behind you. Reveal Discovery Card 81, which, as expected, is the lantern. If your King's favor is 2 or higher, we can move to A2. It is not. We can use an item or move to another location. Let's use the lantern, since we were told that we need to use it at every location. It doesn't cost any stamina in order to use it. You hold the lantern up to Zalik's face and a bright light makes him squint. Yes, he says, very clever. Now make sure you use it everywhere else in the Undercity. Use another item, rest, or move to another location. Let us move to the next location since there's nothing that we can do here. And we move to location D, Aziman's Bones. If there is no XP at this location, there is. Otherwise, let's collect the XP and continue to read. You enter a wide pillared hall with vaulted ceilings built entirely from the bones of Azima the Benevolent. Queen of dragons and mother of this world, it was Azima's magic that first drew the many planes and their peoples to Ulos. It was then that she forged the armaments of the immortal knight, defender of Nalos, who was the first being to cross into Ulos from another plane. These bones were placed here to honor Azima, so that any visit to the ancient dead would begin with tribute to her. Azima's scales have been set in patterns along her bones. Your lantern light reflects back at you in a brilliant prism of rainbows, as if Azima herself were smiling upon you. As you look in awe and fear at the gigantic skeleton, your eyes catch the quick movements of a hooded figure darting about between columns made from ribs and claws. Someone is attempting to approach you, unseen. Douse your lantern and wait for their approach. A dexterity and constitution check. or attack quickly to catch them off guard. Well, we are a fighter, and in the last adventure we increased our combat dice limit, so let's try to attack quickly and catch them off guard. You charge a shadowy figure. In an instant, you are upon them, weapons drawn. In dim light, you see your opponent, a cloaked Pascha woman, her brow painted with the eye of the starlit door. If you are playing in legendary mode, we are not. It is a combat with Maula 41. Okay, so here's Maula. We need green, 2 black and a blue. The combat dice limit is 5, so we will draw 5 dice for each combat round. Let's spend 1 dexterity for a black die and 1 constitution for the green. The remaining 3 will be random. Let's roll the dice and see what we have. Nothing that we can place immediately. For the first card, let's play the longbow, which allows us to increase a blue or green die by 1 or 2. We will increase the 5 to a 6. Let's try to re-roll one of the black dice. Let's try the 5. Into a 2. Well, we can make a 2 any color and place it. And we have 1 more card to play. And I don't think there are any more cards that we can play. Let's end the round. We lose 3, 2, 5, 6 health. For the next round, we draw 5 new dice. Let's draw randomly. A white, a green, a black, and let's roll them. Let's use green taker to add a black die. And we have a 5 which we can place. Let's use the flame imp to add the familiar die and roll it. It's a 4. We have played 2 cards so far. I can use the ancient tome to increase it to a 5. And then famous will allow us to turn a purple die to any color, and I will turn it into a black. With this we have covered all the die slots. The discarded cards return to our hand. The die return to the bag. And we get the benefits, in this case 2 gold and 1 experience. We add the gold and the experience to their place on the party journal. You disarm the Bashta woman in battle and she surrenders to your inspection. Her teeth are indeed sharp, but her eyes are a cool light blue, not a grey of the infected. You inspect her neck for bite marks, but find none. When you ask her what business she has in Undercity, she seems resistant to answering your questions. If you have the title Friend of Gimlex, no, we have Captor of Gimlex. If your Starlit Door favor is 0 or higher, it is -1. Otherwise, we continue to the next entry. The Bashta woman refuses to speak. You search her bag and find a lead medallion. She growls. You found what you need, now let me go. But are you sure she's not infected? Is it just a trick of the lantern light, or are her eyes growing paler and her teeth longer? Reveal Discovery card 78, which is a lead medallion. We can now let her go or end her life. Let's let her go. You release the Bashta woman. She seems surprised and thanks you, then hurries off down the tunnel toward the ossuary. You can only hope that she was truly not infected. We can use an item, rest, or move to another location. Let's use the lantern. You scour the room with your lantern. Its light reflects beautifully on Azima's scales. You feel as if her spirit watches over you in this place. According to the myth, her final act was to order the gate of Blizzard Wool closed, not to be reopened for 3,000 years, when she promised to return and bless the faithful. 3,000 years have passed, and the anniversary of Azima's death approaches. In a place like this, with rainbow beams of light reflecting in every direction, you can almost believe that the myth of Azima's return is real. We can use another item, rest, or move to another location. Let's try to examine the lead medallion together with the lantern. This will cost us 1 stamina, which I will place in the fatigue box. And we go to D7881. You study the lead medallion closely by lantern light. Its front shows the emblem of a moth and a dagger. On the reverse, several sets of initials have been engraved by different hands. You take a moment to add your own initials to the others. Each player return 1 stamina from the fatigue box to the supply. And we're back where we started. We can use another item, rest, or move to another location. Let's move to the pit. We can go there by following the dotted lines, but before we reach the pit, we will need to have encounter number 3. If you have the title Friend of Gimlick's, we do not. You discover a Frockin woman sharpening a bone against an old brick by candlelight. She has an animal. The Frockin has her back to you. Wait a spell and you can have some, she says. The bound creature begs for your help with its eyes. Shuffle the familiar deck and reveal 1 card. Place it face up next to the adventure map. So I shuffle the familiar deck and it is a Nalos leopard. We can now either tell the woman to untie the creature or wait and watch what she does. Let's tell the woman to untie the creature, which will be a fight. You order the Frockin woman to untie the poor creature. Not likely, she says as she turns to you. For the first time you notice her cold grey eyes and the fangs protruding from her upper gums. Most likely I'll bleed you first. We now have a combat with a Frockin with the modifier infected. Here is our enemy. Each round we will lose XP. We need green and either blue or purple. And the infected trait says that for each stamina a player spends when adding dice to the dice pool, they must add 1 stamina to their fatigue box from the supply. Considering this, let's just draw 5 random combat dice. A green, purple, red, a blue, and another purple. And let's see what we can do. We already have a green 3, which we can place. We have a purple 3, but let's hold on to it for a moment. Maybe we can do other things with it. We can turn the 5 into a 2. And then we can spend a longbow to increase the blue die by 1. And place it. Our 3rd card will be famous to turn the purple into a blue, into a green. And we have 1 more card play. Let's use Stone Skin to add 2 green dice and roll them. A 6 and a 3 and a 2. Let's use the bonus play token, which will allow us to play one more card for a total of 5 cards this round, to play the spiked shield in order to increase the 2 into a 3 and place the dice. We have now covered all the dice slots, so we get the discarded cards back to the hand. We return all the dice and gain the benefits, in our case 1 XP and 1 gold. You slay the Frockin woman, thus curing her of vampiric infection. You then cut the bonds of the creature that she held captive. It takes a liking to you. Add the revealed familiar card to one player's hand, and we also need to add the black-red die to the dice pack. We can now either rest or move to the next location in our path. Let's rest. To do so, we need to spend at least 1 XP. Let's spend just 1. We add a stamina cube to the rest track. We also take 1 die because we spend 1 XP and roll it. And it's a 4, which means we heal 4 fatigue. We also fill in the attribute tracks. We take the spent cards into the hand, and we return the bonus play limit. With this done, we continue on to the next location. And I forgot to take the gold and the XP from fighting the Frockin. And we move to location E, the pit. If there is no XP at this location, there is. Otherwise, collect the XP. Acrid black smoke pours over you from the corridor ahead, choking your way forward. You find yourself at the bottom of a high, narrow shaft. In a stone mold pit, a dwarf woman is prodding a noxious fire. You bring one to burn, she asks. If you have the title Secret Corpse, we don't. Otherwise, continue to E5. Well, got one or not, the dwarf woman asks. When you look confused, she continues. We're clearing out the infected tonight. Kill them wherever you find them and bring them here. I'll burn them in the pit. In a dark corner of the shaft, you notice a pile of clothes and other belongings that must have been stripped from the dead. Go take a look through them if you want, says the dwarf. I already took the gold. Record the keyword smoke. If your Dragul is 1 or higher, it is not. We can use an item, rest, or move to another location. Let's use the lantern. You shine the light over a pile of clothes and other belongings. Not surprisingly, there is very little of value here. One item stands out, a carved head of white marble. It must belong to a statue somewhere. You decide to take it with you. Reveal Discovery Card 87, which is a statue head. We can now use another item, rest, or move to another location. Let's just move to another location, and we will be going to the Thieves Guild. On our way there, we have another encounter, this time encounter number 2. In a dark passageway, you encounter a young, well-dressed human noblewoman looking herself over in a hand mirror by torchlight. When you approach, she draws a veil over her face. Let me pass, she says to you. I am Corina, the daughter of Lady Emilia Duntum of the Royal Council. I was just on my way to meet some of my friends, the children of the other Sobek nobles. You consider the young woman's request. Letting her pass uninspected could have dire consequences if she is infected. But Lady Emilia is a powerful figure in Sobek. Upsetting her daughter could be bad for your career in the King's Guard. We can let her pass freely, a constitution and wisdom check, or we can insist on inspecting her. Well, we were told to inspect everybody, so let's try to inspect her. You apologize, but explained that you've been tasked with clearing vampirism from Undercity and must inspect everyone, no exceptions. She pulls back her veil, revealing cold grey eyes and long fangs. I wanted it to be greed, she says, but it seems that you'll have to be my first bite. We have a combat with an infected human. Just like before, we have the infected trait. For each stamina a player spends when adding a dice to the dice pool, they must add 1 stamina to their fatigue box from the supply. Considering this, let's just draw the 5 combat dice and see where we are at. Blue, purple, red, red, and another purple. And let's see what we can do. We needed a 3 purple, which it's perfect here. We have the longbow to increase a blue die by 1 or 2. And now we just need a black or a green 5. We can turn a purple into any color. Let's see if we have something to manipulate the purple die. Yes, we have the spell book to decrease the 6 into a 5. And then famous in order to turn it into any color and place it. With this we have completed the combat. We have 1 gold and 1 XP. And we return all the discarded cards. Here is the XP and the gold. If you have the keyword smoke, we do. You give Lady Amelia's daughter the only known cure for vampirism. When she has breathed her last, you are left to dispose with her body. You could carry her up to Zalik and accept whatever consequences there might be for killing the daughter of the Royal Council member, or you could hide her body here. No one would ever know what became of her. No one could ever blame you for her death. Take her to the pit, take her to Zalik, or hide her here. Let's take her to Zalik. I'm sure he will understand. You carry the young woman's body to Zalik and explain her fate. He nods grimly but opens the gate to accept her body. You leave her with him in a mausoleum before returning to Undercity. Reveal title card 16, which is Lady Amelia's Sorrow. We can now rest or continue moving. Let's continue moving. And we have arrived at location C. If you have keyword stolen, no. Coin, no. If there is no XP, there is. Otherwise, collect the XP from this location. There is a Thieves Guild here. Their headquarters burrowed into a cavern wall that has been carved into an unusual shape. At the entrance to the guild, you meet an elderly orc who submits to your inspection. No bite on me, he tells you, displaying his neck. When you see the infected, we send them to the pit. The orc seems eager to make small talk and he asks you about the Immortal Knight. I've heard he's gone missing, he says. Any word from Sobek? Like everyone else, you've heard the rumors that the Immortal Knight disappeared during the Dragul invasion. You have to admit that there has been no good news on that front. The orc shakes his head. Too bad. I saw him slay a dragon, you know, just north of Jolev in the Black Dunes. We kept the kobolds at bay and he and Tariq Nolan handled the rest. You note politely and move to enter the Thieves Guild, but the orc stops you. Members only, I'm afraid. We can use an item, rest, or move to another location. Let's first use the lantern. You hold the lantern up to the face of the orc guard, but he pushes it away. Keep that off me, he says. I look better in the dark. Let's use the lead medallion, which requires us to place 1 stamina in the fatigue box. We now have 5. You show the orc guard the lead medallion and he looks impressed. Steal a medallion from a thief? That's the only way to become a member of the guild, he tells you. Go in. Each player return 1 stamina from the fatigue box to the supply. And we continue to the next entry. You enter the Thieves Guild headquarters and are met by a large orc woman who introduces herself as Gong. New blood? She looks you over suspiciously. You look more like King's Guard to me. They arrested my aunt 3 years ago for stealing a lousy apple and they still haven't let her out. On her table, Gong has a rolled parchment with a wax seal showing the eye of the starlit door. If your starlit door is 1 or higher, it's not. Gong catches you looking at the parchment and chuckles. Interested in the starlit door, are you? She says, how about we test your wits? If you win, I'll show you the parchment. It's a map to a secret location where members of the door are hiding out. She shows you 3 playing cards, one of which is a queen. Don't take your eyes off the queen, she says, as she scrambles the cards this way and that in a flurry of movement. When her hands come to rest, she looks at you with a smile. Now, she says, where is she? We have a skill check of Deception 1. For the skill check, we need blue and purple, neither of which we are good at. Let's spend 1 XP to get a purple and 1 XP to get 1 stamina to get a blue. The dice limit for a level 1 skill check is 4. Let's draw the remaining 2 dice randomly. And let's roll them. We have a 5 and a 2. We can easily place the 2 here. Let's turn the 5 into a 2. And then use the longbow to increase the 2 to a 3. We have 2 more cards that we can play. Let's use the Flame Imp to add its familiar die and roll it into a 6. We can decrease it to a 5. Use our fighter ability, which says that we can return all weapon cards from the discard space and spend space to the hand. And let's return the ancient tome and the longbow. And using the bonus play limit, we can decrease it again to a 4 and place it in order to complete this skill check. We return all the cards, return all the dice to the bag, and we get 2 XP for covering the slots. Here are the XP. We managed to get granted membership into the guild. You grab Gong's hand and pull the queen from her sleeve. She laughs and holds your hand in hers. Very good, she says approvingly. Then she collects your guild token and gestures to the parchment on the table. Go ahead and open it. Return Discovery card 78 to the Discovery deck. Reveal Discovery card 3 and place an XP on it. Discovery card 3 is another location, and it's right here. Record the keyword coin. Shuffle the skill deck and reveal 2 cards. Place them face up next to the adventure map to create a market. Haggle and manipulate. While at location C, you may buy cards from this market for their price. If your king's favor is 1 or higher, the price for each card at this market is increased by 1 gold. If your king's favor is 0 or lower, the price of each card on this market is reduced by 1 gold. If you buy a card, add it to the player's hand. We have only 1 charisma, so this one will be 8, this one will be 7, and with the gold discount, it's 7 and 6. Neither of which we can afford. We can learn a skill from the Thieves Guild, rest, or move to another location. Let's try to use the statue head here by paying 1 XP. You show the orc card the statue head. This guy wrote the worst poem, he says, and he's got the same stiff face as you. The guard does an exaggerated impression of the statue and chuckles at you. We can use another item, rest, or move to another location. Well, before we move to another location, we have our backstory to read. This is the backstory for the exonerated. You're surprised to see a familiar face outside the guild, grinning as she beckons you over. "Of all the people I never thought I'd see around here," says your old ratkin cellmate Scrack. "Told you there'd be no ratcators down that drain hole. At least not enough to keep me from being out in the world. Maybe you can lend a hand with some tricks. I thought you back behind the stones." He points out a thinker fixing his barrow up an alley. "Tie your tongue round his ears, the teary one, about his sick friends. I'll cough mud on his boots, then have his purse while he starts off for a wash. We'll split his coin and laugh, eh? You're fresh from Coolback and don't want to go back, but Scrack's offer is tempting. Help him out with the con. Offer to buy him a drink instead and stay out of harm's way." Let's offer to buy him a drink instead and stay out of harm's way. Exonerated player, move your alignment marker to lawful. So we take the alignment marker and move it one step to the left. Your old cellmate scoffs and is about to rob the tinker on his own when you point out the club of a bounty hunter hiding among the rubbish on the tinker's cart. He takes your coin instead, and you follow him to a nearby ale merchant's stall where he buys a pair of clay mugs and hands one to you. "You saved me bent fingers and a broken back behind the stones of Coolback, now twice and true. You might follow the crown word and deed, but you're a friend, and I'll spare the word that you're fine to me and mine." Exonerated player, roll a die. If the result is rolled, then your charisma attribute score. Add 1 stamina to any of your attributes row, ignoring the limit. Well, it won't be hard since our charisma score is 1. And it's 1. So we don't add anything. Use an item rest or move to another location. We have completed the backstory. Let's continue moving, maybe going up to the ossuary through Azima's Bones, where we have another encounter, this time encounter number 4. If you have the title Duntum's Return, we do. After climbing on a brick embankment, you find yourself in the middle of a skirmish between a gang of children and a human man you encounter at the gate near Jolab. The man's hand is caught inside a wooden box and he is swinging it around to keep the children at distance. They all hold knives and they seem intent on cutting until they get their box free of his hand. "Give us back our box, Dum-Dum," shout the children, who all have strips of green cloth tied around their arms or legs. "I'm trying, can't you see?" the man cries. But the children don't appear too patient. It seems that there will be blood unless you intervene. Defend the man against his attackers, seize the box and return it to the children. Well, we're not good at dexterity, and anyways, I think we should defend the man against his attackers. You stand beside the human and draw your weapons. The gang of children is not deterred. They dart this way and that, looking to outflank you and capture the man. We have a skill check of resistance 1. For the skill check, we need blue and green. There's no way for us to get blue, but let's spend 2 strength in order to guarantee 2 red dice. And the remaining dice will be drawn at random, up to the dice limit of 4. A purple and a white. We have a 2, a 3. Well, we have the 3 that we needed. Let's first turn the purple into a blue. And then use the longbow to increase it by 2. Now we only need a red 1 or a blue 1. Start using the chainmails in order to re-roll the red. And we have a 1. We have covered all the die slots, which means we have completed the skill check. We get 2 experience. Which we add with the others. You chase the children off without causing too much harm. The human introduces himself as Lord Jeremy Duntum, not Lord Dum Dum, he clarifies, though I suppose getting my hand stuck in this box would suggest otherwise. With a few blows from your weapons, you are able to break the box and free him. A few gold coins fall out. Gain 2 gold coins. He thanks you kindly and you ask him why is he in the Undercity. After you released me, he says, I decided to return to Sobek and give up on my wandering. Then I saw the poor children begging in the street and I took pity on them. They asked if I might look at a box they found and if I might help them open it. I did not know it was rigged. You tell Duntum to keep himself out of trouble. Not likely, I'm afraid, he says as he leaves. By the way, if you ever see a pig with a black spot shaped like a swan, give her my regards and tell her I am heading north to our family's estate. We can rest or move to the next location. Let's move to the next location. And here, let's try to use the statue head by adding 1 stamina to the fatigue box. You carry the statue head and take it on a tour of Azima's bones, showing him the expanse of the cavern. His stiff, smug face remains unimpressed. We can use another item, rest, or move to another location. Well, we cross to the ossuary, let's move to that, and along the way we have encounter 1. From the tunnel ahead, you hear the sounds of lute and drum. You turn a corner and find yourself in a well-lit grotto decorated with woven carpets, stuffed couches, and glass lanterns. A cohort of young Sobek nobles are gathered here dressed in their finest clothes, dancing, drinking, and making music. A young Rathborn noble, sporting a long moustache and a fine dress, introduces themselves as Creed. Creed gives you a strong handshake and a slap on the shoulder. Come, they say, join us. We sent out a friend to bring back the vampire's bite. Stay a while and you can get bit too. These poor fools are trying to get infected, thinking it is fashionable. As King's Guard, you cannot allow the children of Sobek military to endanger the kingdom this way. Draw your weapons and force them to leave. Join them and attempt them to persuade to leave. Let's draw our weapons and force them to leave. You draw your weapons and the young nobles stand at attention, producing rapiers and preparing themselves to duel as if they were training sessions with the palace guard. Clear out, you order. It's too dangerous for you here. Crete sneers at your command. Vampirism is lovely and we want it, they say. And the other young nobles all nod in agreement. Come now, Crete says, pointing their rapier at your neck. We are ready for you. We now have a fight with 2 opponents. One is Creed and the other one is a human. When fighting 2 opponents, we need to defeat both of them. If one of them is defeated, their track round marker does not move anymore and we don't suffer any penalties. And the last die place for Creed, it's just a blue die of any color. Considering that we have so many places that we need to add dice, let's just draw the 5 dice from the combat limit randomly from the back. Black, another black, a blue, a green, and a red. The 2 is perfect here. And nothing else. We can use the longbow to increase this to a 5. Let's use Green Taker to add a purple die. And roll it. And we have a 3, which means we have defeated the human. Now all we need to deal with is Creed. We have played 2 cards so far. Let's use the grey matter to add any random die. And it's a red with the value of 2. And for the last cards, let's use the chainmail armor set in order to reroll reds. We have a 4, it's not useful. Let's play another one. A 2, not useful. And a 5, which we can place. But I don't think there's anything that we can do this turn. And we take 4, 7, 8, 9 damage. Which means that we need to win this turn. Let's draw the next dice. White, red, white, purple, and a blue. Well, we can place the 2 here. We can turn the 6 into any color. We have used one of the cards. We can, for the second card, we can turn the 3 into a 4 and then use the ancient tome to turn it into a 5. And we can add 2 green dice with stone skin. And we have a 1. We have covered all the dice spaces and completed the combat barely. We get 3 XP and 2 gold. And here are the 3 XP and 2 gold. You subdue them and send them home. Live combat never follows the rules of a controlled sport like fencing, so your military expertise easily trumps the young noble's practice with rapiers. One by one you disarm them and they reluctantly agree to live. One of our friends is still out in the tunnel looking for a bite, says Creed. Send her home too, when you find her. Reveal title card 14, which is Creed's savior. We can rest or move to the next location in our path. Let's spend 4 XP in order to heal. We add 1 stamina cube to the rest track. And we roll 4 dice. So we have 10, 14. We also fill the attribute rows. We flip the class ability, return the bonus play token, and take the spent cards. Now that we have done all that, we can continue to move to the next location. If there is no XP at this location, there is, otherwise collect the XP. The ossuary of the Old Order houses the remains of the founders of Ulos. Representatives from every corner of the Planarverse united under Azima the Benevolent long before Nalos divided itself from Dragul. There must be thousands of founders buried here, their skulls and bones covering the surface of every wall, creating the sense that this whole eerie space was built not of earth and stone, but of the dead. We can use an item, rest, or move to another location. Let's use the lantern. You search through the ossuary with your lantern and find a narrow passageway in a corner that leads you up some stairs into an ancient sepulchre. Reveal discovery card 30 and place an XP on it, which is another location. We can now use another item, rest, or move to another location. Let's move up 1 location to location F. The Ancient Sepulchre. If you have the titles Vampire's Executioner, Vampire's Prey, or Vampire's Thrall, we don't. If there is no XP, there is. Otherwise, collect the XP from this location. You enter an ancient sepulchre and find a halfling man standing perfectly still and staring blankly at a decorated urn, as if he were in some kind of trance. The urn upon which he is transfixed is marked with runes that you cannot decipher. A low voice seems to come from every direction at once. The proper translation is Ashes of the Eldest, Sire of us all. Started to look around. The halfling did not move his lips, and there is no one else in the sepulchre. He was the first of our kind, burned alive by a jealous human, the voice continues. As he does so, a mist fills the sepulchre and slowly coalesces into an enormous bat-like figure in the center of the room. The creature introduces himself as Lord Yuan Rokta. If you have the keyword library No, you find that your arms and legs will not obey you. Lord Rokta has you frozen in place. He explained that he is here in Ulos to recover the ashes of the eldest, sire of all vampires. These ashes are missing from their urn. The people who store our treasures call themselves the Starlit Door. The vampire says to you with his hand, "Find them, kill them, bring me what is mine." The vampire returns to mist and you regain control of your limbs. As you live, you notice the dark inky blood leaking from 2 punctures in the halfling's neck. Move to another location. Well, the only location that we have not explored is the library. If there is no XP at this location, there is. Collect the XP. If you have the keyword password, no. Keyword killer, no. Otherwise, continue reading. Down a dark passageway, you find a door painted with a familiar eye. When you knock, a small peephole opens and a man's voice speaks. "We are everywhere and cannot be seen." You are not sure what to say in return. The man behind the door notices your hesitation. "Who are you and how did you find us?" he asks. Record the keyword library. If your starlit door is 1 or higher, it is not. We now need to perform a Persuasion 1 skill check. A skill check requires red and purple. Let's spend 1 of each to guarantee 1 die of each color. And draw the remaining 2 dice randomly. A black and a green. None of them match. Let's spend 1 card to add the familiar die, because it's both colors that we need. And it's a 1. Keep it and see. I think the best thing that we can do is to try to start re-rolling the red die. 5. No. 1. Perfect. So 1 goes here and the other one here. We have 2 more cards to play. We can use Stumble to turn the 5 into a 2. And then the Ancient Tome to increase it to a 3. And with that we have covered all the slots. We take back the cards, we return the dice, and we get 2 experience. Here's the 2 experience. The man behind the door looks you over and thinks for a moment. Then you hear a latch being undone and the door swings open. "Welcome," the man says. He leads you into a dim candlelit library of ancient tomes. In the center of this room is a wooden table where several cloaked figures sit pondering a map of Sobek. Near the map sits a grey drawstring sack. An elderly dragonkin man rises from the head of the table and greets you. "Welcome. You arrive at an important moment. Soon we will restore our world to its proper place at the center of the planarverse. To do so, we must possess all objects of power. He stands slowly and approaches you. We invite you to join us, but first you must perform a small task of initiation. The other figure rises from their seats, and you notice the Basha woman you encounter in Azima's hall among them. A map of Sobek is spread out on the table with red markings all over the major sites. It is not clear exactly what the Starlit Door is planning, but it looks like it will not be pleasant for the city. Your duty as King's Guard is certain. You must arrest these rebels before they can disrupt the peace of Sobek. Let's try to arrest them since the Starlit Door is an enemy to the crown. You tell the members of the Starlit Door to place their weapons on the table and their hands in the air. The gathered members exchange glances and draw their weapons, but do not place them at your disposal. I'm sorry, says the elderly dragonkin man. I truly am, but we cannot allow you to stand in the way of progress. Our world has lived in shackles far too long. We have a combat again with two people, Masik and Maula. And here are our opponents. Just like last time, we need to defeat both of them in order to win. Considering we have so many colors, let's draw the 5 cards, 5 dice randomly. Green. And let's see what we have. Well, we have a 3 which we can place here. We can use climb to flip the green die into a 6. We can increase the purple die to a 2 and then use famous to turn it into any color, in this case a black. And we can re-roll the whites for the last action or not. I think we can best use the runing pendant, which allows us to flip a white exactly into the 3 that we need. With this we have defeated Mazik. Let's see if there's anything that we can do with one more card play. And there is. We can use the bonus play limit in order to play ambitious and turn the 6 into a green. With this, the first round has ended. We take 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. We are at 15 and we move on to the next round. Well, if we don't win this round, I think that there's a high chance that we are going to lose. Let's spend at least 1 stamina for a black die. And draw the others random. Two 5s, and all we need is a blue 2, which we can easily do using friendly, which allows us to turn any 2 into any color. And with that we have completed the combat. We return all the cards. And we have 1, 2, 3 XP and 2 gold. Here's the XP and the gold. With the Starlit Old members defeated, you have their hideout to yourself and can inspect it freely. You open the grey drawstring sack and find it is full of ashes. You tuck the sack away for safekeeping. At the back of the library, you discover a small Durgulium writing desk that looks surprisingly clean and well kept. Atop the desk is a fresh quill, an empty inkwell, and what looks like a broken statue. There is white marble neck mounted to a wooden base that is engraved with the name Bertram Hugna. Mr. Hugna's head has been broken off and is nowhere in sight. You take the inkwell, thinking that it might come in handy. Reduce the starlit door by 1. Reveal discovery card 56, the empty inkwell, and reveal title card 20, Starlit Devil. We can now use an item, rest, or move to another location. We will need to rest, but let's first use the lantern. You search the library with your lantern and find a biography of Bertram Hugna. He was a dwarven poet who penned his verse not in ink but in his own blood. Well, we have the head of the statue, which could be his. We need to add 1 stamina to the fatigue box. The statue head of Bertram Hugna fits perfectly atop the partial bust on the Durgulium writing desk, giving the library an eerie sense of his presence. You notice the fresh quill and examine the empty inkwell you collected. You feel an otherworldly presence floating in the air around you. Was that your imagination, or did you just hear a voice whispering in your ear? "Help me, please," it said. Each player returned 1 stamina from your fatigue box to the supply. Let's see what the inkwell has for us here. As you hold the empty inkwell in the library, you feel an otherworldly presence surrounding you. "Please," whispers a spectral voice, "fill it for me." You tug the inkwell back into your pocket, making no promises. Let's see about the inkwell and the lantern. Looking more carefully at the empty inkwell by lantern light, you see that the dried substance within it is not ink, but blood. So we need to fill it with blood. Let's go back to... no, before we leave, we should do a rest. We have 16 damage. Let's spend 3 XP. We add a stamina cube to the rest track. And we roll 3 dice. Ten, 16. 10, 16, all of them. We also fill in the attribute rows. We return the bonus play limit. And the spent cards back to the hand. With that completed, let's move to the Ancient Sepulchre. If there's no XP at this location, you sneak to the dark corner of the ossuary that obscures the path to the Vampire Sepulchre. If you have the keyword library, we do have the keyword, you feel Lord Rothscott's presence in your mind, sifting through your memories like a pair of hands searching your head for lies. "I know you have the ashes," he says. "Show them to me." Against your will, you find yourself retrieving the grey drawstring sack from your pack. When the vampire sees it, he draws near and takes it from your hand. He opens the bag and looks upon the ashes with reverence. Suddenly, you find that you are in control of your body once more. It seems that Lord Rothscott's hypnotic powers dissipate when he is distracted. "I want to thank you," he says. "You have done me a great kindness, and I would like to return the favor. Attack while you still can. Wait to receive his favor." Well, we don't want to be a vampire, so let's attack while we still can. You dive at the vampire with your steel. Surprised by your attack, he bares his fangs, spreads his wings, and takes flight to strike you from above. This is a special combat. The following combat will redirect you to a new storybook entry after the first round. Make sure to read the 3 possible outcomes once the first round is complete and turn to the corresponding entry in the storybook. Our combat is against Lord Rothka. Lord Rothka wants a lot of whites, which we don't have. Let's spend 1 wisdom to guarantee a white die. maybe 1 strength for a red die. And the other 2 are random. Black. Let's see what we can do. We can first turn the 6 into any color, and we can put it here. We can also use the runic pendant to turn the white into a 5. Let's use Green Taker for the 3rd card to add a white die. And it's a 4. We only need a 2 and a 5. Let's try to re-roll the reds. Start with this one. Into a 6. A 4. And another 4. Yeah, there's nothing we can do. So we move on to the next round. We lose 1 XP. We take 5 damage. And we read the neither victory nor defeat at the end of the first round. Dodging your bows, Lord Ratha hisses and his body turns to mist. He coalesces into an even more terrifying visage, veiny muscles bulging from his bat-like frame. He claws and scrapes along the stone floor of the sepulchre as he approaches. Return 1 XP to the supply. Another one. Let's return 1 XP to the supply. And add the gigantic modifier card to Lord Rathka and continue the combat. This modifier card adds 2 more dices that we need to fill. For the next round, let's get a black and a red. And the remaining randomly. And roll them. We have a 4 which is perfect here. We have a 5 which is perfect here. Now we need 2 2s. We can increase a green die by 1. We can use Restore to add a random die and set it to 2. Which is perfect because it's a black. And then we can use Friendly to turn any die of value 2 into any color, and we turn it into a blue. We have covered all the die slots. We have won the combat. Return all the dice. Take back all the cards. And get the benefits for covering the slots. In this case, we have 1 gold from Gigantic and then 4 XP from Lord Rathka. So 4 XP and 1 gold. We have deprived the creature of his head. You beat the vampire down and separate his head from his neck. Still, his eyes stare deeply into your own, attempting to hypnotize you. You pour oil from your lantern and burn the creature. When nothing is left but bones, you retrieve the skull. This should make fitting proof for Commander Zalek. The halfling man still stares at a wall, blood leaking from the bite wound on his neck. We get 1 favor with the King's Guard. We reduce the Dragul favor by 1. We also get rare card 39. a vampire's call to add to our cards. And title card 24. The Vampire's Executioner. We can use an item rest or move to another location. Let's use the lantern first. You examine the urn more carefully with your lantern and see that its seal has been broken and its lid removed. The ashes from inside the urn have been scooped out and taken. The halfling remains entranced by the urn. Thick blood runs from his neck. Let's use the empty inkwell. You hold the empty inkwell to the halfling's neck and it slowly fills with blood. He doesn't seem to notice your presence. Return Discovery 56 to the Discovery deck and reveal Discovery card 64, which is an inkwell of blood. Let's try to use the inkwell of blood around the place. Let's start with Azimad's bones. The hole is quiet now. Azima the Benevolent rests in power and beauty. You set the inkwell of blood on the floor of Azima's hole. A swirl of glowing dust surrounds it for a moment and then vanishes. It seems that Azima is almost pleased with this offering. You take the inkwell back and wonder what more might you bring. Let's use it together with the lantern, maybe. 6481. You shine the lantern over the inkwell of blood. It glows with a special crimson radiance in Azima's hole. Somehow you sense that the blood might make a worthy offering to Azima, but on its own it is not enough. We only have the statue, which requires us to add 1 stamina to the fatigue box. We are now at 10 fatigue. You set the statue head down in the center of Azima's hole. Then you tip a finger into the inkwell of blood and paint his face with it. A swirl of glowing dust surrounds this offering and fills the chamber with the shape of a spectral dragon. Azima's memory looks down on you with love and gratitude for your offering. Take a small touch of my blessing, she tells you. Look forward to my return. Then the dust loses its glow and falls to the floor. You retrieve the statue head and inkwell in awe of what you have seen. Each player increases 2 different attribute score by 1 each. Let's increase strength and wisdom. So strength goes to 4 and wisdom to 2. Let's use the inkwell of blood where we should in the library. If there's no XP, the Drugolium writing desk in the library is missing its inkwell and the marble head of Mr. Bertram Hugna. There are many books here that might be read by lantern light. Let's use the inkwell of blood. The inkwell of blood lends a creepy air to the Drugolium writing desk. It's almost as if you can feel the spirit of a poet hovering around you, eager to write. But something is still missing. So you tuck the inkwell back into your pack. Maybe the head. And we also need to use 1 stamina. You place Bertram Hugna's head on the pedestal and it fits perfectly in place. Then you set down the inkwell of blood and become aware of a spectral presence. Each player return 1 stamina from the fatigue box to the supply. And continue. The quill on the Drugolium writing desk glows and then flies aloft under its own power, dipping itself into the inkwell and scrawling out a verse on the scrap of parchment. Thank thee kindly for the blood, I shall not ask about its source. As my gratitude thus bad, I hereby yield a wondrous force. This cube is ancient as can be. Keep it safely in thy care. It levitates most marvelously, and opens doors that lead elsewhere. When the verse is complete, the writing desk opens and an onyx cube appears before you, levitating in the air. The library shakes and crackling black energy fills the air above your head. With a word of thanks, you quickly take the cube and place it in one of the Drugolium chainmail sacks that Tariq Nolan gave you. The air is quiet once more. The cube now secure in your pack, you feel strangely lighter on your feet and lighter in your spirit as well. Reveal rare card 14, which is an onyx cube, which allows us to turn any color into a 5. Return discovery card 64 to the discovery deck and also 87. So the Inkwell of Blood and the statue head. We can use another item, rest, or move to another location. I don't think there's anything else to do. Let's move to A and tell Dalek that we've killed the vampire. If there's no XP at this location, Zalik stops you at the iron gate and tells you to show him your eyes, neck, and teeth. After assuring himself that you are not infected, he asks about the progress of your mission. If you have the title Vampire's Executioner, we do. You hold out the vampire's skull for Zalik's inspection. He nods grimly. Their bones retain some of their essence long after death. The skull can still hypnotize. Keep it safe, but do not point it at me again. We can now turn to the end. And there's nothing to do anymore. Let's just go to the end. You follow Zalik up the stairs and across the graveyard, making your way back to the barracks. Your march takes you along a ridge that looks out over the city. Sobek is a port city, and as dawn breaks, the bay turns from black to gold. All is still quiet in the capital. Only farmers and fishmongers preparing for the day's market are up at this time. During this quiet transition, you reflect on your night's adventure. Which titles did you earn? We have Vampire's Executioner, Starlit Devil, Creed's Savior, and Lady Amelia's Sorrow. We are not infected, we are not a troll. Vampire's Executioner. Killing the vampire was no easy task, and his voice still echoes faintly in the depths of your mind. Perhaps the skull you carry with you is speaking for him still. It whispers to you about the ancient artifacts, asking you to find more of them and hide them from the starlit door. Even in death, the vampire hopes to turn you to his mission. Lady Amelia's Sorrow. There will be grief this morning in Sobek. Zalik has delivered the body of Corina Duntum to the palace guard, who will carry her home with reverence. It might also be a sad day for you, if too many questions are asked about how the young woman died and what your role was in her demise. Even so, you defend Sobek nobles from vampiric infection. Whatever the politics, you have done your duty and can take some comfort in that. Creed's Savior. You find the attitudes of the other young nobles disturbing. That they would flout danger and even actively seek out vampiric infection bothers you to the core. Nobles live a protected life here in Sobek, even with the proximity to Undercity. They did not see the horrors of war during the Dragul invasion, so they have the privilege of entertaining romantic ideas about the things that should cause them terror instead. You are grateful that you are able to send them home safely. Starlit Devil. After killing several members of the Starlit Dole, you wonder whether their plot against Sobek will move forward or if you are able to kill all of the conspirators in time. It is possible that enough cultists remain to carry out the plot, the purpose of which eludes you. Certainly, if any cultists survive, they will want revenge. Your missions are suddenly interrupted when an explosion breaks the morning peace and a massive cloud of dust arises from Terran's arena in the city below. Screams in the streets tell you that something has escaped the arena and is beginning to make its way through Sobek. It appears that the Starlit Door plot has already begun. We have now completed the adventure, which means we can go to the market and spend the XP that we have accumulated. All the decks are shuffled. Let's see what the market has for us. Acrobatics, Ancestral Blade, Runic Bracelet, Relentless, and Tremor. When it comes to gold, we have 5, 10, 12 gold. Acrobatics will cost 7 because we already have 1 charisma. And that's all the discounts that we have. I think let's get the Ancestral Blade because we want more weapons by spending 5. And maybe Relentless in order to turn red to any color by spending 7 because we're not the Pasha. Next we can spend the XP. We have 5, 10, 16. I think first let's upgrade the bonus play limit. The current is 1, which means that upgrading the next one will cost 10 XP. So we spent 10 XP. And we increase it to 2. We have 6 more remaining. I think we can spend 3 for another mastery. And then 3 to increase our health by another 3. Let's get 1 constitution up to 4 and then the 3 health. And that was the 3rd adventure in Roleplayer Adventures, Outbreak in Undercity. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. See you in the next one. Bye.